Under what circumstances, if any, would you support a tax or a fee increase for Union County residents? Jerry.
Start with Jerry.
Well, if you're talking about fees, fees are related to services, and we've already done quite a bit on that with regard to our long-range water and sewer master plan, our solid waste disposal. So fees are one thing. Taxes. I have been a commissioner for a little over 3 years, going on 4. We have never had a tax increase. In fact, we reduced taxes. We're in a predicament now with the school system, and we're going to have to do that communication and work together to bring a long-term solution.
I dislike taxes. I think everybody in the room dislikes taxes. There are services that as a community we expect and we deserve, but we need to make sure before we just slap a tax or a fee on something that we've exhausted all other opportunities for revenue. And without doing that, we need to understand that before you decide that you're going to do a tax increase for a penny to one person, maybe a small amount, but for another person, that's a lot of money. So before I think anybody says, well, I'm going to just do a tax increase because it's the right thing to do, you need to make sure that, number one, it is the right thing to do, and you need to make sure that all other avenues for revenue have been exhausted. So I do not like taxes, and it would be a last resort to raise taxes. Thank you.
I think it's pretty easy. I'm a Republican. We don't tax.
All avenues should be checked out before taxes are increased. Things like like you're going to buy school land. Maybe you don't need to purchase the property. Maybe you work out some deal with the developer that you do get to use that sewer that's an actual commodity that belongs to the county in order to get property for schools instead of paying $40,000 an acre, which we have now. There's $25 million in land sitting empty, I think, right now that we could be using to fix the roofs here at Sun Valley. There's a lot of different ways that we can get money. $4 million on the table, left on the table, with unsecured bonds. Eddie's familiar with that issue. We talked about it. If you get caught doing a crime and you get an unsecured bond, you don't pay it, guess who gets the money? The school board. Guess who has to go after it? Well, the school attorney's going to have to go after it. So we need secured bonds so that they don't have to go after it, it's already there. A vehicle, a home, or something else was put up for collateral, and it's easier to get. That money goes to the schools. It belongs to them. $4 million on the table since 2010. That would have gone a long way to solving some of the problems that the board had with the school board. I mean, what were they asking for over the amount? Not very much more than $4 million would have helped solve a lot of problems. So we need to get those ideas out there. We need to talk to people. A guy looked at me that told me that. He said, you don't want to hear it. You don't want to hear what I got to say. I said, no, I really do. And he told me that. It was very simple. I called Mary Ellis. I said, Dr. Ellis, let's look into this. And she had the attorney look into it. And there is some opportunities there. I spoke to the attorney for the school, not Schwartz, the good one here that lives with us. We talked about it, how to get more of that money. That's the kind of solutions that we need to get. Taxes should be raised. If that $91 million verdict goes through, expect a huge, huge tax increase.
I kind of disagree on a huge tax increase, but we are potentially walking into a $91 million liability and a revaluation of our property next year. That is going to impact Union County. We don't know what's going to happen with this $91 million judgment, but it is going to affect the choices we make. If we could come to an agreement, a settlement agreement over a period of time and not raise taxes, that's ideal. But again, it comes back to people being willing to sit down and work together to put together a plan that will keep us from having to raise taxes.
question is, do I support or would I raise taxes or fees in Union County? To manage the income and the expenses. It's really that simple. It's basic economics. I wouldn't say that my 10-year-old can solve it that simply with the math she's learning in school now, but it is. If you maximize the income that you have available to you and the opportunities to collect it through assessments, which is a fixed amount once it's assessed, the real opportunity lies in managing your expenses. You can spend more than you make for a while. And the real question is, how far do you want to kick the can down the road? If we're at a position where we're spending more than we make, then we need to stop spending or we need to raise our revenue. And I propose we create a better fiscal responsibility within the government, within this county, within this board, and plead to the other municipalities that benefit from the expenses from the county, as well as the services that receive it. We have to work together. Thank you.
As Kim mentioned, we basically could be at the mercy of the court here on this $91 million judgment. So I support a settlement of that before we don't even get a choice in the matter and the courts decide it for us. Because the fact of the matter is, the schools need repair. So if we can do that in a sustainable, responsible way, I'm for that versus the court telling us what we're going to do and not do. As Jerry mentioned, the fee increases have already been implemented, so I don't see that as a necessity in the near future. And I would reduce spending and implement budget cuts at the government level before I would ever raise taxes. However, where the schools are concerned, if the Board of Education were to bring a bond referendum to the county commission for either needed maintenance, capital improvements, or new schools, while you did elect me to make decisions, that I believe should be left up to the voters. So I would support putting that on the ballot and letting each of you decide that.
I have been a lifelong Republican, and I am very conservative in my approach to taxes, tax increasing. But I also am very realistic into how sustainable it is to live in a county with such high growth and maintain the same tax rate year after year after year. So I guess I don't have a crystal ball, and I don't know how to clearly answer that question, except to say that if it gets to the point where there is a lack of services that put the people and the citizens of Union County at any risk, whether it be from a safety standpoint or an educational standpoint, then I think that we should be open to any kind of option that we have, be that not something that I think that everybody would be happy about, that it definitely needs to be an option to sustain the quality of living in the county, but I am for absolutely taking it to the citizens when it comes to bonds and voting and letting people have their voice in the decision making.